You are listening to the Haig MD channel. Nothing on this channel is medical advice. It is for information purposes only, and before you make any changes, or if you need advice, call your own doctor. Welcome to the Haig MD channel, and I am Dr. Melissa Haig, practicing OBGYN and your host. So today's sexual health hint is hair down there. We were actually meant to have hair down there, but if you choose to remove it, you have to be careful, ladies. I have seen some amazingly awful infections here lately from not using a sterilized or cleaned razor, or trying an at-home waxing kit, or one of the random creams that I won't name that you just put on and it takes your hair and maybe your skin off. So I'm just saying, be careful. If you're gonna shave, make sure it's a clean razor or a sterilized razor. If you're going to wax, go to a professional. Don't do that stuff at home unless you know what you're doing. Or just trim and don't completely cut the hair off. That's actually the safest and the least likely to lead to an infection. Now let's get to the show. So last time we talked about a challenge to do one thing. So how did I do with my snacking? So I would give myself a solid C. Not a D, not an F, but I definitely didn't do it perfectly. So I'm probably gonna have to keep going. The little secret about my life right now is that I have a busy obstetrics and gynecology practice. I have a family, and I have a mom who's very ill, and I'm going every day to visit her. So it's kind of turned into a really difficult time that I hadn't anticipated. Have you ever had that? You think you know how life's going, you're chugging right along. For me, I was working on this challenge I've been working on since the beginning of the year, the 2 pounds a month. We're now almost to August, so that would be 7 months, so 14. Math's not my strong point, but anyway, I am a couple pounds behind my goal, but it's still achievable. And then all of this stuff hits and it becomes more and more difficult. So what do you do when the stuff's hitting the fan and you're just trying to maintain your health? Go back to the basic principles. So we already talked about insulin. Let's talk about another hormone today that may or may not be familiar to a lot of you, and that hormone is progesterone. So what is progesterone? Well, if you look at a menstrual cycle, the first half of the cycle is when your brain is telling your ovaries, hey, y'all, time to get some eggs ready. So the hormone that the brain secretes is called FSH. The ovaries then respond to that by each of your ovaries getting ready something like 10 eggs, maybe even more. Clearly they do not all get released. Praise the Lord. We do not end up with a litter of 20. 1 or maybe 2 or 3, I guess if you're gonna have triplets, of those eggs wins the race. It forms a cyst. So here is the free tip of the day. If you get an ultrasound as a woman, you will have a cyst on your ovary more than half of the month, because that's what your ovaries are supposed to do. They make a cyst. It contains an egg part of the month that doesn't. When the egg has been released, that ovary starts making a hormone called progesterone. If you get pregnant that month, the ovary continues to make progesterone. That progesterone helps sustain that pregnancy. If you do not get pregnant, that the brain tells the ovary, hey y'all, we didn't get pregnant this month. Some of you are doing a happy dance and some of you are very sad. But regardless, when the ovary gets that signal, it stops making progesterone. So bleeding, that menstrual cycle, is actually in response to progesterone stopping. So progesterone stops, a couple days later, your period starts. Some women are really affected by that drop in progesterone. When we're young, so that first maybe 5 to 10 years of our cycle, our brain and our ovaries, they're not best buds. And the cycles can be kind of off. But the progesterone production is much better. There's a lot more progesterone available. The number one complaint I see from women in their 30s and 40s is it seems like PMS is getting harder for me. And it's probably true. It's probably because your progesterone levels are falling over time. So a lot of women get a little bit of a boost with progesterone. If they take it at night, it helps them sleep better. It helps their mood. But it's also that drop in progesterone that can happen in response to a stressful time, because your body is going to prioritize a different hormone or a different category called steroids. So cortisone gets prioritized, progesterone production isn't as great. So times of stress like what I'm going through right now can deplete progesterone. It can make it harder to be happy. It can make sleep more difficult. It kind of gives you that, I don't know, baseline, I'm doing okay. Life is okay. So when that's gone, you can sense those things. So does that mean we should just throw progesterone into the system? Well, maybe. I mean, if you truly are toward the end of your reproductive life, adding some progesterone to the system, maybe it would help you. That's something to talk to your doctor about. All I'm saying though is there are other ways to boost your progesterone production that are natural ways. And one of them is to get rid of excess insulin and to get rid of chemicals and processed things that interfere with the natural normal hormone production. So if I were looking to boost my progesterone in a natural way, step one would be getting rid of anything chemical that I'm ingesting that I don't need to be ingesting. So what I mean by that is, sorry, but the bagged things. If it comes in a bag or a box or someone chewed it up for you, right? Like the machines processed it for you and it brought it to your house, you're not a toddler. You shouldn't be eating things that were chewed up before they got to you. So step one, get rid of the processed food in your life because it is not helping your hormones. Step two would be do things that get your stress hormones down. Dropping your cortisol is going to help your progesterone production. So how do you do that? Well, we talked about this a little bit last time. You play guitar, you pray, you meditate, you go on a walk, you call a friend. Sometimes just sitting for a moment and acknowledging, man, this was a day. I mean, this was a hard, nasty, low down day. I don't want to do this day again. Just giving yourself a moment to consider life that day, or like I like to say, contemplating your life choices, because I'm living the life I am today because I chose it. Just doing that and giving yourself a moment can actually help lower cortisol. What happens if you don't do that? So you're on this rat race, you're being a mom and a wife and a friend and you're taking care of everybody else all the time and you're never stopping for a moment, giving yourself a little Sabbath, a little rest, a little contemplation time. What happens is your steroids get produced at high levels, it interferes with your hormones. Sometimes women will come in and tell me, I know I missed my period because I've been under a lot of stress, and it's probably true. But other things can happen too. You can start to develop things like adrenal fatigue, which is beyond the scope of this talk. But my point is, you will start to have downstream effects of stress if you don't just stop and think about, how could I process this differently? How can I think about my day in a way that actually helps me instead of harms me? And if you are someone that gets to every Sunday night, let's say you have a Monday through Friday job, and every Sunday afternoon, evening, you start to get a stomach ache, or your head hurts, or in general, you're more sad, that's a surefire sign you have not figured out how to deal with the stress of your week. And maybe you need to make a major life change, like you need to throw your career out and start over. But maybe you just need to stop and say to yourself, how can I better support myself during the week? How can I make my experience of this life, this job, this family better? Because I want it. I wanted this job. I went to school for this job. I used to think this job was amazing. So why don't I think that anymore? And sometimes we just get into this negative mindset, and we've got to intentionally break that mindset to live a better life, to get our cortisol levels down, to boost our progesterone naturally. Other things you can do is stay hydrated. We need hydration in order to make hormones, all of them. And by hydration, I don't just mean drink more water, although a lot of us probably should. I also mean electrolytes. I don't make any money off of any products. I'm not selling anybody else's products, but I am telling you, for me, the easiest thing has been to pick up some Relight, that's RE-LYTE, or some Element, that's LMNT, and add it to my water every morning, first thing when I get up. I am the most dehydrated first thing in the morning because I just slept. Well, sometimes not. Sometimes the small humans coming out of the other humans make my sleep terrible and I have to get up all night. But even then, I'm not drinking water through the night typically. I mean, if I remember, I will, but I'm usually not thinking about that. So I start my day off with 16 to 24 ounces of an electrolyte mixed in with my water. I do not have my coffee until I've been awake for at least 60, preferably 90 minutes. The reason I'm doing that is because there is a lot of research out there to show that we have high cortisone levels in the morning. I mean, it's just like you get woke up and your body starts pouring out cortisone to wake you up, to get you going in the morning, and you need some of that. If you add to that the coffee, you will more than double some of those levels, depending on what study you look at. So if you want to delay your elevated cortisone, or you want to not make it worse, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You want to not make it worse, delay your coffee. Wait 60 to 90 minutes and have your hydration first. So I start my day out hydrated, and I do drink water all day throughout the day. I keep water at my perch at work, and I try to remember to drink between patients. My goal is to get my 32 ounce of water gone by the end of a 3 to 4 hour clinic. So I have clinic in the morning, clinic in the afternoon, or sometimes surgery, whatever. I try to get that 32 ounces gone. And I do find the days that I am operating all afternoon, I have to come home and drink a lot more water. If I'm doing extended fasting, I will drink an electrolyte drink every time I would have eaten a meal. And that does two things for me. First of all, I kind of feel like I'm getting something. You know, I may not be eating lunch with my colleagues, but I'll sit down and have my electrolyte drink and talk with them while they're eating. And I don't feel like I'm missing out as much. It also just fills the belly, right? It just makes you feel like I had something. The sodium makes my brain fog significantly better. And in general, having that sodium, magnesium, potassium in the middle of your day, if you're not eating food, is going to be helpful. Plus, if you're new to fasting, if you decide I'm going to try this fasting thing, by the way, amazing podcasts and websites out there that cover fasting, and that's not really what we're covering here, but highly recommend the Fasting Method or the Fasting for Life podcast. Those are both great. But if you're just starting out with fasting, it can be really helpful to add electrolytes, because if you stop processed foods have tons of sodium and potassium and magnesium in them. So you're effectively removing some of the elements that you were taking in. So you want to add those back in with an electrolyte drink. Now over time, I don't always need it as much, although like I said, I go ahead and hydrate first thing in the morning anyway, because I don't always know what my day is going to look like, whether I'm going to end up being at the office or not, am I going to have access to drinking water or not. It just kind of depends. If I'm in a really long surgical case, I can't drink water for 3 or 4 hours. I need to go in hydrated. So for your life, whatever your life looks like, you might need to evaluate how much hydration do I need, and have I been having electrolytes? The other thing I would recommend you think about is how much magnesium do you get in your day? And for me, taking a magnesium supplement at night was a game changer. It helped me sleep better. It got rid of the leg cramping that I was dealing with when I first started really ramping up my exercise. And in general, all of the function, including the bowels, work better if you take magnesium. So where are we at today? Today, we got to work on the snacking still. What do you need to still work on? You got to pick something. If you're picking the same thing, that does not mean you're a loser. It does not mean that you picked the wrong thing. It just means that you haven't arrived yet. But if you left the place of eating 8 to 10 times a day, and you're in that middle of that journey and you've gotten 2 or 3 days without snacking, that's amazing progress. Pat yourself on the back. Be glad you made a change. And then decide what the next change is going to look like. Is it now you only snack 3 days instead of 5? Or what does that look like for you? Pick something that is going to make your step toward health better. I also want to leave you with, I don't know what topics you want to hear about. So if there's ever something exciting, put it in the comments and let me know. If you want to hear more of this podcast, you have to subscribe. If I only get 4 viewers, I may eventually decide it's not worth it to me. It's not worth the 20 minutes. And my producer is very expensive. So I've got to make it worth her while too. She's my daughter. Anyway, if you want to hear more about things, like it, share it with a friend, let them know the value that you're finding in this channel, and we would be happy to bring you more. So I'll leave you with, as I always do, love out loud and live on purpose.